Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Roll the Dice with Dave. I am so glad you're able to join us. Anybody who's tuning in on Facebook Live, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Anybody who's checking us out on YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in. Tonight, we're going to have a great show. I'm really excited to be speaking with these wonderful women this evening, and we'll get more into that in just a second. If you are out there, please go ahead and Roll the Dice with Dave and share. Let's get everybody on this train so we can all be the change we want to see in the world. Also, if you do make any comments tonight and feel so inclined, feel free to use the hashtag Roll the Dice with Dave. Or if you check out the replay at a different time later on, maybe a week later, maybe 10 days later, who knows how later, go ahead and use the hashtag replay. Would love to go ahead and reach out and connect with you. If you are interested in being on the show as a guest, please reach out and email me at rollthedicewithdave@gmail.com, or you can go ahead and leave something in the comments so we can go ahead and connect, talk about what topic you may want to discuss, and also a date that you would be on the show. And again, thank you for everybody that's been following the podcast. Really appreciate it. And those of you that have been tuning in live and participating, I really do appreciate you checking us out. All right, we're about to get into tonight, and I'm really excited. Have a great group of individuals who are going to be speaking with, and I'm really glad they were able to take the time out today. So I'm going to bring out my first guest so they can introduce themselves. This is Sherelle Shipman. She is the National Director of the organization. Please go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell everybody about the organization that you are the National Director for, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sherelle Shipman, and I'm the current National Director of the Black Female Development Circle, Incorporated. Our mission is to celebrate, to educate, celebrate, and enhance, womanhood. And so we are just an amazing organization founded back in 1994 on the campus of the University of Florida. And it's to bring together like-minded women to self-reflect, plan different events on campuses, but we've also become a national organization where we talk about, vital knowledge in the form of mental health and spiritual challenges. We also provide information on practical life skills and self-development. So we are all well-rounded organization for us and by us. And we love to talk a little bit more about our organization throughout the night.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I really appreciate it. Next, I want to go ahead and bring on Dr. Sandra Miles of Flagler College. Dr. Miles, can you please go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody?
Sure. So I am Sandra Miles. I am the immediate past National Director of the Black Female Development Circle, Incorporated, and the proud advisor to our newest chapter, the Flagler College chapter, which is full of amazing, dynamic BFDC members. So I'm looking forward to hearing all the wonderful things they have to contribute.
And speaking of the wonderful young women and what they have to contribute, I'm going to go ahead and bring them on. So ladies, if you don't mind introducing yourselves one by one to the audience this evening.
Hello, my name is Talia Charles, and I am the treasurer for the BFDC Flagler chapter. Okay, and I'm Rhonda Grayson, and I am the assistant director of the BFDC Flagler chapter. I'm Gabby, and I'm the director of the Flagler chapter Flagler BFDC chapter.
Thank you so much for joining us. And I just want to also remind you, ladies, if you don't mind, when you are not speaking, I went ahead and muted the mics. When you're not speaking, if we could have the mics muted. And then when you go to speak, if you could go ahead and unmute your mic. So first, I want to go ahead and start with Sherelle. I'll go ahead and start with you as our national director. If you don't mind just telling us, who was one of your role models growing up?
Let me make sure I'm unmuted.
I unmuted you. Yeah, I went ahead and unmuted.
Okay, no problem. One of my role models growing up was actually my mom. Seeing her as a single mom raise me and my siblings, and to be, to come out well, to attend college and then go on and achieve multiple dreams that I had was definitely major key in her being a role model. Sandra doesn't know that she was a role model to me too when I started school, because she was, a standout on campus, as well as an alumni that we used to hear things about all the time, and her impact at the university. So knowing Sandra over 15 years now, oh my geez, close to 15 years now, and seeing her, and she's definitely had a definite impact on me as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and go to Dr. Miles. Dr. Miles, can you go ahead and let me know and the audience know who was one of your role models growing up?
So I'm gonna say Claire Huxtable. Growing up, watching the Cosby Show, it's just like everything about her was fierce, and I loved that she was no nonsense, but still sweet and still seemingly approachable, at least for me. And I'll also add my mom. She was a different kind of role model. Like she was the kind of role model who made me feel like it was important for me to advocate for myself, and she pushed me forward. So I'll say those two for sure.
I love the Claire Huxtable. That just took me back to my youth because everybody loved Claire Huxtable growing up, right? So I'm going to go ahead and move over to the young ladies from Flagler College. So each one of you, one at a time, if you don't mind letting us know who who do you consider one of your role models?
Okay, so then I'll go first. One of my role models growing up was my dad, because like Dr. Miles, he taught me how to self-advocate for myself, and then also he instilled in me how far hard work can get you. And so I really appreciate the lessons that he taught me.
Nice.
I have to second, both my parents, I think, were kind of role models growing up, especially my mom. She's just kind of cool, I guess. I don't know.
And for me, I'd also have to say my parents. My dad, especially because he is kind of the person that I go to when I actually would go to him for advice about everything, because I don't tend to open up a lot about anything. So like when I do go to him, he definitely has a lot of experience and has always been like my kind of wise person in my life. And my mom, who I call usually almost every day, that she has just always been like a solid person for me to go to, that if I need to support, always, yeah.
That's awesome. You know, and parents do appreciate that. I talk to my daughter all the time. She's out in Texas. She's at West Texas A&M. Parents love when they hear from their kids. It's actually a great thing. So that's awesome to hear that you guys are doing that. I'm going to go ahead and stick with you, ladies. Hopefully you don't mind. But could each of you give me 2 or 3 words that people who know you would use to describe you?
Okay, so 2 or 3 words. For me, Bree, probably goofy.
They all shook their heads. They all shook their heads when she said goofy.
Goofy and kind. I don't know if that's a basic word to use, but I think so.
I want to add one to yours, Bree, because I've only, we've interacted a few times. Strong. I definitely want to throw strong out there, and not overbearing strong, but strong to the point where when people maybe are afraid to voice what's on their mind, you have no problem speaking up for those that need to be spoken up for. So in the short time we've interacted, I have definitely noticed that about you, and I love that about you. So I hope you keep that and use that as one of your words in the future, because I definitely see it in you. The other ladies, if you want to share.
I've only asked my friends this one time, and I think one of the words he gave me was, I think he gave me soft, but not like soft like can't handle anything, soft like caring and nurturing,
Caring
I think.
and compassionate.
Yeah, and like just someone that's like you can go to for almost anything. And I can't think of another one. I don't know.
That's all right. That's all right. You're caring, compassionate, soft. It's all there together. Hey, that's okay. And we have one more who hasn't given her 2 to 3 words.
I would say persistent and caring. Those are the 2 that I'm going to say.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and switch and go to Dr. Miles. Dr. Miles, if you don't mind sharing, what are the 2 or 3 words that people would use to describe you?
Other people would probably say that I'm serious, even though I'm not as serious as people think I am. And probably fierce is another one. and ambitious.
I can agree with all of those. Yeah, I could definitely agree with all of those words. And I'm going to shift over to Sherelle. Sherelle, if you don't mind letting us know, what are 2 or 3 words people would use to describe you?
I think people would describe me as dedicated, definitely ambitious, and diva-like in a good way.
Diva-like in a good way. I like that. No, I definitely do like that. So I'm going to stick right here, and I'm going to go with you for this next one. And this is just kind of just one of those questions just to give people a chance to know you a little bit better. So would you rather have your face printed on money, or would you rather have a small town named after you?
I think I would rather have a small town named after me. Reason being is, and I say that because anytime I go out of town, or if I go to a building and it's named after someone, I like to look that person up to see what impact did they make in that community, or what impact did they make in that area for the government officials or the community leaders to actually vote and approve for that person's street to be named after them, or a school to be named after them. So I think I would want an actual a building or something, or a city to be named after me.
Oh, that's pretty cool. No, I like that. So now I'm going to shift over to the 3 young women at Flagler College, and you can answer in any order you want, but would you rather have your face on money, or would you rather have a small town named after you?
I would say money, just because people use money constantly, and so it'd be a constant reminder of the things that I've achieved to be honorable enough to be on a piece of money.
I'll say that too.
All right.
Do I go next?
No.
Okay, I was gonna say I think a small town, just because. I'm sorry, I just saw that. But I think that personally, it would just be nice to be able to. Maybe it sounds weird, but to be able to like actually go there and like experience what Brianna Town is like. I don't know. It'd be kind of dope.
Oh, cool. Thank you so much for that answer. And we have one more.
I would say I kind of also want to do money, because I think it'd be cool to like think about the fact that like I would be used kind of all over the world, even if like you're not in a country where like that kind of money is used, but like what is it called when you change money?
Exchange.
Yeah, exchanging. I don't know. I just think it'd be cool. It just has to be a really good picture.
No, that's an awesome answer. And next we're going to go with Dr. Miles. Sandra, if you money or city or town?
Yeah, I'm doing the money, because I make things happen. You can't get it done without me. So yeah, I would say the money, with the caveat that it has to be a good picture, for sure.
A really good picture. Okay. Well, I mean, honestly, have you? Oh, you know which one it could be? It could be the picture you took for your birthday.
With the crown.
With the crown, that would be the best picture to have. And then it would have to be a big denomination, right? It couldn't Obviously be something small. It would have to be a major denomination. Yeah. So
we're changing the name of it. It's not called money anymore. These were goddess notes. That's
goddess notes. Right. Goddess notes. I'm gonna write that down. Goddess notes. I'm going to go ahead and keep that. So I like that. I'm going to go ahead and stick here with you for a second, Sandra, if you don't mind. If you had an opportunity to ask one person, alive or dead, any question, and they had to answer truthfully, who would you ask, and what would be their question?
Oh, man. So whenever the one person alive or dead, I always think of Oprah. And I think the question would be if she would be my godmother.
Okay.
It's like if the answer is yes, then it's like we further the relationship, and I can ask, questions later.
No, I like that. Oprah. All right. I'm going to go ahead and go to, let's go to Sherelle. And I have a different question for you real quick. So when people look back at this time 50 years from now, what do you think they're going to be most shocked and appalled by?
Just this time currently?
Yeah, so 50 years from now, when somebody looks at kind of what we're dealing with right now, and we could almost look at 2019, 2020, and going into 2021, what do you think they're going to be most shocked and appalled by?
Well, 2020 in itself there's a lot to be shocked and appalled by. One thing I guess would be major is potentially having a female vice president for the first time in over, I think it's been 60 or 65 VPs or something like that in the history of our country. So that's just like a trailblazing moment in 2020, I think people are definitely going to still be talking about it.
And I hope they are talking about it. And actually, I hope they're talking about it and saying, do you remember the first one? Because we've had so many other that have moved beyond that.
Right. Exactly. But I definitely think, it's going to still continue to be something in the history books. 2020 is definitely going to have its own chapter.
So, yeah, and that is definitely the highlight right now. I will definitely agree with that. I'm going to move to the young women at Flagler College, and I have a different question for each one. So I'm going to ask a question. One of you can answer it, but then know the next person is getting a completely different question. So you can't shoot up. So whoever wants to answer this, who is your favorite fictitious hero?
Ooh.
My favorite fictitious hero is it's Leia from Star Wars, just because she kind of sets this tone throughout the movies that she's an independent woman, and like she appreciates the assistance that she gets, but she's also in control of her nation and herself and her actions, and I really admired that about her.
I'll tell you, that's a really good answer. That's a great answer. Thank you so much for that. All right, the next question for the other two. Now, one of you can answer, but besides being on this show right now, what are you most excited about in life?
In life?
I like how they looked at each other like, oh.
I think what I'm most excited about in life is I feel like since I'm more in, like, I'm going to be graduating next year. Next year's my internship. So I think getting to this point in my academic career, and also being exposed to what all is out there, because I'm on the path of becoming a teacher, but I'm starting to realize that I can do much more than that. So I'm honestly just excited for pursuing everything that I want to pursue in addition to becoming a teacher, and just seeing what life has in store for me, I guess, now that I have this confidence.
That is a really good answer. I tell you, you guys are dropping jewels tonight. Well, I'm taking a lot of notes. I am taking a lot of notes. So the last question I have for the little group is, actually, who hasn't answered yet? Okay, so this question is for you. So you have $100,000. Do you donate it to a charity, or do you create your own foundation?
Well, create my own foundation, definitely. Well, that sounds bad, but I mean,
no, it doesn't. It doesn't sound bad.
Yeah, because I feel I could do so much with I could build something and then continue cycling and gaining my money, so I could redistribute and give back and do more than just one charity and like a one and done type thing. Mm-hmm. I feel like if I could set a foundation and build upon that, and then just do everything that I could do, and then go from there, exponential growth, I guess, instead of just a one-off donate to one charity and that's it.
I love that answer because it shows the confidence you have in yourself. It's easy to donate to somebody and let them kind of take it and just go with it, but the fact that you want to continue to give, contribute, and have that kind of sustainable growth, that takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of confidence in yourself to actually want to go that route. So thank you so much for that answer. Now we're about to move into talking a little bit about just some different issues that have taken place over time. And I am going to go ahead and start with Dr. Miles, Sandra. The next little topic I just want to talk about is just some of the things going on with the Black community. And one really involves the thoughts and emotions surrounding the Black Lives Matter movement, the murder of innocent Black lives. Why do you think people are so quick to forget these issues after they've been in the news so dominantly? They really aren't in the news and not being talked about right now. Why do you think it's so quick that people just forget those things?
I don't know that people forget as much as people get tired of the sadness. Like, I think people, they don't want to talk about it anymore. They are ready to move on. Combined with, there's so many things that happen every day. There are a lot of distractions. So there are a lot of opportunities to move on. And then I think a lot of people kind of get stuck and confused in their emotions in terms of what to do with it. Like, the helplessness can be overwhelming. It's like, okay, I don't want to forget about Breonna Taylor, but what else can I tweeted every day, I posted every day. What else can I do? And then it starts to feel like, well, I just don't even want to think about it anymore because I feel like I'm not contributing. And it starts to feel more personal, even though it's someone else. It's like my own helplessness starts to get mixed in my feelings about this person who lost their life senselessly. So I guess I'm giving people the benefit of the doubt a lot on this, but I feel like it's very emotional and just kind of difficult to process. And then you have the fighters who are like, no, under no circumstances is anyone allowed to forget. And so I don't know that these people just completely get washed away. There are so many people keeping their names and their stories alive. But I also think that there is just kind of like this compassion fatigue that happens where people want to think about something that makes them feel better.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and shift over to Sherelle. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, absolutely. People are definitely compartmentalizing things. There's so many things that are going on. So they're trying to place effort or emphasis in different things and and sometimes even spreading themselves thin, that it then becomes a mental issue that they can potentially start to have because there's just so many things going on. So for me, for example, I see on my social media, you have the election going on, then you have racial inconsistencies going on, and then you have normal life dealing with kids in virtual school. Like, it's just so many things that are going on. And so people tend to try to compartmentalize different things and then eventually kind of spread themselves thin.
Okay. And ladies, do you want to add anything kind of building off of what Dr. Miles and what Sherelle have spoken about?
I wanted to add on to Dr. Miles when she said she's been a little bit more forgiving about people when they forget about or move on, I guess. And me personally, like, I'm more forgiving towards other Black people when they just like want to have a time to just like de-stress and like not think about it. But I'm less, I guess, I don't give as much leeway to people who aren't Black because I'm like, that's not really your trauma to be like, oh, I need to like move on about this. Like, it doesn't directly affect you as much as it does for the people that are experiencing it every day. So like so I'm more not harsh, but like I have a different view for Black people and then for people who aren't Black when talking about these issues or like being outspoken about them.
No, that's completely understandable. No, that is completely understandable. Anyone else want to add?
I guess I wanted to like add on to Dr. Miles and saying that I saw what she was talking about like in myself. I remember this was like a month ago, or it was during September because I remember it was near my birthday. And I was scrolling through Hulu and I saw that they had a episode like documentary special on the Breonna Taylor case. And I was like, well, I guess I could learn more about this. So I watched it, and it's just seeing all those facts presented in front of you, especially like back to back to back. And it's not just like a news story here and there. And then seeing how the case like turned out is so upsetting and frustrating to a point that I sometimes don't even really know how to describe. It's just, you're just sitting there like, how did this happen? How did it turn out like this? I just don't understand what logic like led to this conclusion. And so it kind of like how she was saying, like it kind of became, for me at least, easier to try to focus on like, okay, let me just try to focus on getting this paper done, or let me try to just focus on like this club meeting I have to go to, and like focusing on other things, because the upset that came with like acknowledging that that is something that actually happened is sometimes it's too much.
Anything else anybody wants to add?
To piggyback off what they said, it's also like become to a point to where you almost want to desensitize yourself because it's so overwhelming, because it just doesn't stop. And you don't really know, at least personally, I don't know what to do to help make it stop. And so it almost feels like a helpless cause, even though it's not. It starts to feel that way just because it's so constant. And then also I feel like it seems like people forget because there's a lot of performative allyship online, and they're not sincere. And so it's just moving on to whoever's name is next to the hashtag, whichever day, whichever month. And so I feel like that's also one of the reasons why it seems like people just forget so fast.
So I want to stick with you three for just a second. The next question I had was, were you surprised by the reactions of some people close to you when it came to these issues?
Yes. I remember during the summer, I spent a decent amount of time with my grandparents on my mom's side, and my mom's white. So I spent a decent amount of time with them, and those conversations like came up talking about the protests and like what caused these protests and the situation that unfolded, especially with George Floyd, because they knew the most about that one. And I just remember sometimes like being in the backseat of their car and just like in tears, like frustrated, like trying to say like, it's also with Breonna Taylor, because I was like, do you not understand that a woman was like killed when she was doing absolutely nothing? And it's just like trying to get them to understand, because the argument just kept being, oh, well, you can't say all cops are bad, or you can't say this, or you can't make assumptions about these people and all these other things. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you can feel that way, but you're still not addressing this issue that I'm trying to talk to you guys about. And thankfully, over time, I've been able to like reach through to them, more to my grandma than my grandfather, if I'm being honest. But that's kind of like hearing the things, like hearing the side that they were on to start with, especially like going to them thinking that that wasn't going to be what I received. It was kind of like hard a little bit. This summer was a very difficult emotional time, if I'm being honest.
Either one of you want to add anything before I go over to Dr. Miles and Sherelle?
I'm thankful that, I mean, honestly, we didn't really talk about it much in my family. But like when we did speak about it, I was glad to know that like my dad had like the same feelings that I had about everything that was going on, like protests and riots and everything. And he was basically just like, it's well deserved. Like they need to do what they need to do. And then that was it. I said, okay, good. Like he wasn't really like talking bad. I don't know how to say it, but talking bad about like the protesters and like what they were doing. So that was nice. But like most of the stuff that I saw was online. Like that entire, there was one week, like I think it was like right after George Floyd died. There was like a week of online activism that I saw. There was like a week straight, and it was all that I saw. And the different sides of things that I like experienced was so, I can't even describe. Like it was mind-boggling. Like I saw people being so extremely anti-Black and like not caring at all, and like just having no remorse whatsoever. And then I also saw people that were like, that was all they were talking about. They were spreading as much awareness as they could, and they were trying to make change, sending petitions, all this stuff. And so that was nice to see. And then, but it was also, there were just so many conflicting emotions. Like I saw a lot of performative activism and people jumping on the trend of like posting Black squares on Instagram, and then that being like the extent of like their activism, and people just not caring at all. And it was just very, very hard to see. And like, again, because during the summer, like I kind of just stayed in my room the whole time. So that entire time I was basically like experiencing it all by myself, and I wasn't really talking to anybody about it, except for like the like the 1 or 2 times I talked to my parents about it. But it felt like, I don't know, it was weird. It was a lot. And I feel like every time I did try to talk about it, or like want to talk about it, I would just like get super quiet. Yeah, I couldn't even say anything. So I was sitting there just like experiencing everything on my phone, and I was like, oh, it was a lot.
Yeah, sometimes having that phone and easy access is the worst thing ever. It really is. And that's been tough for me sometimes that, you get that the vibration or the bing and you kind of look and then it just kind of floods in. I want to go ahead and transition real quick to Dr. Miles. Were you surprised by any actions of anyone during all this? If you have I guess a reaction or a thought or an emotion that surprised you that anybody expressed?
Yeah, so I had I have two responses. I was surprised by some people who jumped directly to why are they protesting? And it was shocking to me. And I've had years to like cultivate my social media friend list, and for the most part, I don't have a ton of people on my friend list that, like, not to say that we all have the same views, but I don't have people that I find to be like morally repugnant on my friend list. And so these are people, well-meaning people who, even when I don't agree with them, I can understand where they're coming from. Jumping straight to, and most of them white, jumping straight to why are they protesting, or even jumping straight to defending the right to protest. And I felt compelled to like bring attention back to like, first things first, stop killing us. You start with why are people killing innocent Black people? Then you worry about why they're protesting it. But to completely ignore the fact that people are being murdered and jump straight to, well, why are they destroying property after someone is murdered? Just really feels like priorities are in the wrong place. But I was also pleasantly surprised by a number of my white friends who are ordinarily very silent, or the ones who are like, well, let's just talk about flowers and daisies, or who seem to legitimately not even know anything is happening, who were taking on the task of educating their friends. Or someone, they made a post, like a pretty, for them, courageous, but like a fairly straightforward, like, I believe Black Lives Matter post, right? That's like for the first time they'd ever done it. And then when someone from their friend list would respond or try to challenge them, like actually watching them, challenge back or have those uncomfortable conversations with their friends and family was very encouraging to see. And I took, when ordinarily I would like hop in and have their back, I just took a back seat and just watched it happen. And every now and then I might like a comment so they knew they weren't alone. But I really appreciated watching them have those difficult conversations with themselves, as opposed to waiting for a person of color to make a statement that they could share, or tagging me in, like literally like tagging me in a comment like, Sandra, what do you think about this? But I didn't see a lot of that this summer, so I was pleasantly surprised by that as well.
Cool. And now I want to, Sherelle, your thoughts. Were there any actions or anything that happened that surprised you?
Yeah, actually, two parts as well. So a colleague at work actually called me, and it's so crazy because I would have never thought in a million years that she would call me to discuss, what was going on. And she is white, and so we've never had conversations about anything in this matter. And so for her to call me and kind of say, oh, I just wanted to talk to you, not even talk about the full matter, but wanted to just say, you all are in my prayers, or I hope you're doing okay, after seeing, what had transpired. So for her, I know for sure that was very courageous of her. So, all I could do was tell her that I hope she's educating her children. She kind of was adamant about, making sure she turned the TV off, but then also taking the further steps to educate herself, educate her husband, her children, as well as their family. So I thought that was amazing. Now family, it was a little bit different. I have law enforcement in my family. So we had a lot of disagreements and how everything kind of transpired, because they looked at the instances from the law enforcement side, what they could have done to either prevent it or try to understand the type of person that they were attempting to arrest. So there were a lot of interesting conversations in my household, to say the least. I think we all agreed to disagree on a lot of points, especially when it came to Breonna Taylor. So, you know, and it's okay to have those conversations. And so those are very hard conversations because it was my family.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Thank you so much for that answer. And I'm going to stick with you because I'm transitioning into the next piece. So, Black Female Development Circle. Is it something only that young women that are attending college can be a part of?
Absolutely not. We actually, when we became a national organization, we saw that young ladies were transitioning into their next chapter of life after college and still wanted to be connected to BFDC because it was so impactful to them while they were in college. So we did develop an alumni and at large, if you will, membership. So once they graduate, or if they attended a university that did not have BFDC and kind of found us on the internet or found us on social media, they can reach out to us and to join the organization. And so alumni and at large, they go on different retreats and they just do their thing as alumni working women. They have speakers come talk to them about financial literacy, budgeting, careers and things like that, that kind of speaks to them in their level and their point in life. Whereas we have, you know, we have multiple chapters in the state of Florida at the collegiate level as well.
All right, thank you so much for that. I want to jump to the young women back at Flagler College. Ladies, what is your favorite thing about being part of the Black Female Development Circle?
She actually asked me this in one of my interviews for a position, but my favorite thing, I said in the interview and I'm going to say it now because it's still true. It's just being able to have a space to come to every week and be with other women and just feel uplifted and supported and be heard, and just having that space is honestly one of my favorite things. And I also feel like that stretches past just the Flagler chapter, because when we went to Purple Power, I felt the same thing.
Can I ask you a quick question? What exactly is Purple Power?
Okay, so Purple Power, or wait, are you asking me?
Well, anybody who wants to answer, yeah. I have no idea what Purple Power is, but I like the way it sounds, so I figured I'd ask you what exactly is Purple Power.
Okay, so Purple Power is a yearly or semesterly event, a yearly event with all the chapters of BFDC, and typically it's in person, but because of COVID this year, it was online through Zoom, and it's kind of like it's a seminar. It's not like all day, but it's a decent chunk, and you get to have these different speeches and different activities, and it's just a fun time, and you get to know everyone, and you get to like bond. And if I missed anything, please add it. I'm talking about my experience.
You did good. You did good. So Purple Power is actually an event that the National Board of BFDC puts on annually. And it's kind of like the kickoff to the new year. It usually takes place between August, September, October, depending on how dates line up. But it's the kickoff for all our members as well as alumni to, you know, kick off and say, hey, BFDC is back. You had a great summer. So during that time, it's usually a one-day event. Sometimes it is coupled with our collegiate retreat, which we didn't get to have this year because of COVID, but our collegiate retreat is just geared to focus on leadership and building the collegiate arm of the organization. And then Purple Power brings everyone together to talk. And then we have different speakers, like you said, as well as different activities.
Cool. I want to jump to Dr. Miles real quick. Dr. Miles, what is your favorite thing about the Black Female Development Circle?
Let me say, you do not have to be Black or a woman to be a part of BFDC. So we have had members who were male or members from other races. So I'll just throw that out there. But my favorite thing about it is probably the sisterhood. Like you get to know people because our organization is so small and because our organization is so young. We actually have like years long relationships. Like like Sherelle said, we've known each other 15 years. That's like all through BFDC, and it is all about our working. Like we started out as board members together, and have developed like a personal friendship through ups and downs and arguments and, you know, fierce Sandra wanting to do it her way and all this stuff. And so you really do get to know human beings. The other thing I will say that I really like about BFDC is that for me personally, I don't know if this is anyone else's experience, but for me, the organization has really helped me to become a more effective communicator because as a woman, as a Black woman, there are times when I'm at work or when I was in school and I would say something and somebody would dismiss it. And I might think that, oh, it's because I'm Black or, oh, it's because I'm a woman. But in BFDC, there is no confusion. It's not because I'm Black. It's not because I'm a woman. It's because they really don't agree with me. It's because they really didn't understand the point that I was trying to come across. And so I had to work that much harder to get my point across or to accept that sometimes people just don't agree with you. You have to move on. So I feel like I really have learned so much more about being an effective communicator and a good leader by being in this organization and honestly learning how to communicate with people who are different from you, even though it might not seem on the outset like that's what you would get out of it, but that's really what I've gotten out of it.
Cool. I also love the color purple because it is the color of royalty, and we got to support our Black queens. So there's no definitely doubt about that, right? So the next little piece I want to talk about, because we did mention college, and I actually want to start with the young women from Flagler College again. You guys have made this easy for me being in that little group right there. So, you know, it was mentioned that you didn't have to be in college to be a part of this organization. However, I do want to address something that I think is important to address. As young women of color, what is it like attending PWI, which for people who don't know what that is a predominantly white institution. What is it like being a Black woman attending a predominantly white institution?
It's a lot of code switching, and it's a lot of trying to find a space and people in which you feel like you can be your, this is gonna sound weird, but like be your Black self, like be yourself and not try to have to hide those aspects that other majority white people would find like, oh, well, she's just being that way, or she's just being ghetto, or she's being loud. Like, it's just, you're just being yourself. Mm-hmm. And it's also creating spaces because there's barely any. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of trying to find a space. And then if there isn't a space, it's a lot of creating spaces.
So you mentioned something, and I don't think everybody's going to know what this is when they listen to the podcast, but can you give a little bit of a description of what is code switching?
So code switching is a thing that I feel people of different cultures and ethnicities or marginalized backgrounds in general have to deal with, in which when they present themselves to the generalized public, mainly white people, they have to put on this front that they're sophisticated in the stereotypical sense, or that we have to kind of like hide those things that make you unique, because in the majority of a stereotypical white person, a white person's eyes, what we do isn't sophisticated or normal. So we have to kind of normalize through their culture. That's kind of how I would explain it.
Is that not how you explain it? No. I just had a thought. Sorry, and I made a noise.
Oh, no.
No, go ahead. If you got something to say, go ahead and say it. Yeah, I want to hear it.
But I mean, just like hearing her describe it, it just kind of sounds like a modern day version of like what Christopher Columbus did with the Indians, like trying to make them like go to school and like do this and do that, like colonization and like all that stuff. But it's like at our own will. I don't know. It just now I don't know how I feel about it.
See, that's why I love you. I appreciate the honesty, right? Strong. Remember the word strong. We mentioned at the beginning. Stick with it. I want to go ahead and actually, do any of you want to add anything else that are in the little Flagler room?
I had one comment. For me, code switching, for what I don't really think I code switch a lot. I probably do, but from what I've like observed, is a lot of times it's people just changing the way that they speak so that they can feel safe in a space that they may not feel accepted in, I guess. Because a lot of the times, like especially for Black people, the way that we speak can be seen as unprofessional, and so we have to change the way that we speak to be, I guess, palatable for other people, and also just comfort, like wherever you feel comfortable enough being yourself, and then if you don't feel comfortable in a space, then you code switch to adapt, I guess.
No, no, I get that. And I want to go ahead and jump to either Dr. Actually, we'll go to Sherelle. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, sure. So to your question about how did it feel going to a PWI, I attended a PWI, and actually I tell people this all the time, it was actually a culture shock for me. My whole life I only went to inner city schools. So to attend a PWI, I literally was taken aback. I didn't know how to interact with really other races, because pretty much all my life, 90% of my schools were African American based. So that's how I found BFDC. I saw a table at the student union and it was some girls dressed in purple. And I said, hey, what's your name? Or how can I join that? Because they looked like me, they spoke like me, and they interacted as I did. So that's how I joined BFDC.
Dr. Miles, do you want to add anything?
So I have kind of patterned my whole career in working at predominantly white institutions because of how I felt being a Black student, a Black woman at a predominantly white institution. And it was so important to me anytime I had the opportunity to interact with a Black woman in any position of leadership, because there were not very many. And just kind of understanding how difficult it was to find role models, but not just role models, but mentors, support structures. When I decided I was going to have a career in education, it has been a conscious decision. There have been times, especially right now, because the conversation around HBCUs is very prevalent. So there have been times when I've thought about it, and there are definitely certain very specific HBCUs that I absolutely love and adore and would love to work at. But my commitment to the Black student experience at PWIs is so strong that I always end up kind of finding my way back to that dedication. So I don't necessarily have a comment on how it feels, except that it is definitely a unique experience that's hard to put into words. And it's really important that Black students who go to PWIs are supported and have support and don't have to convince anyone that they're actually Black because of the school they went to. That's crazy. You live your whole Black life as a Black person, and then the college is what makes you legitimately Black. That is crazy to me. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
Thank you so much for that. I want to go ahead and jump into the next question, and I will go ahead. Actually, you know what? I'm going to start with you again, Dr. Miles. We'll go ahead and jump right here. Were you either in your group of friends or even in your family the only one to go to college or the first to go to college? A lot of times there's that assumption that when a person of color is at a school, they're like, oh, are you the first or are you the only? So was that a case for you? And then I'm going to actually make my way around, Sherelle, and also to the young women at Flagler College. Was that a situation for you?
No. My mother went to Florida A&M. My aunt went to Florida A&M. My cousins went to Florida A&M. I have
you didn't go to Florida A&M?
I did not go to Florida A&M.
You broke the legacy tradition.
So I was the first person in my family to go to a predominantly white institution. So that's what I was the first to do. But even with that experience, so my mom was college educated, but she was also very hands-off. And we were living probably we were definitely working class family. And so I didn't necessarily have the benefit of the fact that she went to college before me in terms of having like someone who was pushing me and saying, you got to do this and you should do that. So in a lot of ways, it felt like I was kind of, charting a path on my own. But I did have tons of family who kind of knew the ropes and had done things. So once I made it to college, I had, support structures or people who were reaching out and encouraging me in different ways. But no, I'm not a first generation college student. Not even close.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and jump to Sherelle. Were you the first or the only?
Not at all. I had I came from a working class family. However, I was pushed to go to college. It was not, you can stay here. After you graduate, you got to get out the house and go to school. So I was actually encouraged to go to school. My mom started pushing scholarship applications on me from 11th grade on up. So I was pushed. But however, the majority of my family, actually, we were all mixed. We had, my aunts went to Florida A&M and Florida State, and my mom went to Florida International, and my dad went to the University of Miami, Ohio. So it was just, we were all over. However, I was pushed, me and my brothers.
You had me excited for a second. I was about to throw up the U until you threw the Ohio out there.
Yeah, he played. My dad played basketball at the University of Miami, Ohio. So.
Oh, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, and now I'm going to go ahead and jump to the young ladies. Are any of you the first or the only?
No, both of my parents went to college and graduated. I would say to piggyback off of like the pressure, I guess. I'm the only daughter, and I have 3 brothers, and me and the youngest brother have been pushed the hardest. We're both the black children. I hate to say it like that, but like we're both the black children, so we were pushed harder by my dad to make sure that we go and graduate, and graduate with like not anything specific, just like with something, because my dad emphasized the importance of having a degree in something, because that'll open up more doors, I guess, for the future. But yeah.
Okay. Either one of you want to add anything else?
Yeah. So that stereotype's kind of funny, because in my situation, it's kind of flip-flop. My mom didn't go to college. She kind of just joined the military right out and saved her GI Bill. And then my dad did pursue an education, and he pursued it like even further, because at first he had a scholarship, or not a scholarship, a scholarship, he ran track at, Troy University in Alabama. And then eventually he was running a race and like tore something to the point where he would no longer be able to run. So he lost the scholarship. And then he tried to continue pursuing his education by working, I think it was like 2 to 3 jobs. So basically being a student worker to try to pay for his school. And then once it got to the point where it was that was a lot on someone's plate, trying to like fund school and work 3 jobs. So he ended up like dropping out, but then later pursued it once he was more stable in his career, and he also joined the military. So my dad, and also my dad's sisters, so my aunts, they all went to college, but really my mom's side didn't really do that. Not even my grandparents, they didn't go to college either. So it's interesting to hear that, I guess, stereotype when it's kind of like flip-flop for me.
Flip-flopped around.
Yeah.
Anything else to add?
For me, my dad went straight into college after high school, but like Brianna, he had to work a bunch of jobs to be able to pay for his college.
Okay.
Well, my biological father. And then he went to Prairie View and he got his master's degree there. And then my stepfather, he's an immigrant, so he only got his high school degree. And then my mom, she waited until like her mid-30s to get like her registered nursing degree, but she eventually went into college. So I'm not the first one, but on my biological dad's side of the family, he was the first one.
Cool. Thank you so much for that. I'm actually going to try and experiment and unmute all the mics. So if Sherelle, if you want to unmute your mic, because I just kind of want to open this up for a little more conversation. And anybody can feel free to answer. How impactful do you think Black women were in this past election?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're always impactful in every election.
It's true. But this one, it seemed that everybody felt this one, there was just a little bit more at stake at this one. So how impactful do you think Black women were in this election? And it's open to anybody for this discussion.
I'll say, I think, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, actually, go ahead. I want to look this up real quick.
So what I was going to say is I think that the impact that we had is that we tend to be the mouthpieces of our communities. We tend to be the ones who are pushing. And so I saw a lot of Black women actively encouraging people to vote, coming up with plans, reminding people. I personally did phone banking. I know a lot of my sorority sisters were actually signed up to be poll workers on election day. So I saw a lot of Black women doing more than just saying, I'm going to go vote. They were actively like invested and engaged in making sure everyone they knew was also voting.
Okay. Anybody else want to share their thoughts?
Yeah, no, I was going to say pretty much the same thing that Sandra said. I know a lot of my friends that were poll watchers that also volunteered at the poll, and some of my attorney friends also watched the polls as well. My mom actually is at the supervisor elections right now, recounting some votes that happened for a local election here as well. So I had a lot of friends and family members that took the extra mile with getting the word out about voting as well.
Okay, kind of thing that I was gonna add, if you want to like talk even just based on like facts, they said that 91% of the votes for you said Mr. Man, so that threw me off. But the votes for Biden and Kamala were blue, and they were by Black women. Yeah. So basically, that's a very large percentage. Yeah.
So basically, you're saying you just picked him up, put him on your shoulders, and then carried him to finish it. That's what you're saying right there.
Honestly, like, no, seriously, like that's pretty much what happened. Like, and it's not, so we're talking about local impact, but when you talk about nationally, like, there's no denying the impact Stacey Abrams intentionally had on voter turnout and preventing voter suppression. So there's a number of Black women who were in the Congressional Black Caucus who were out there canvassing when their elections were safe or they weren't up for re-election, but they were out there. There was, I can't remember her name now, but there was Ayanna Pressley, I think. She was, once her primary was done, she knew that her seat was safe, but she still went out and campaigned to her base, which is more on the farther left progressive wing, to make sure that the people who trusted her would do what she was planning to do, which was vote for Biden. So it wasn't just, well, I'm safe, I'm good, but also using her position of influence to make sure that we didn't have people who decided to sit this one out. Because, right now people feel like if the candidate doesn't walk on water, then you shouldn't vote for him. So she was like, out there. So I feel like there's just a number of Black women who were behind the scenes, but also like on the forefront, treating this election like our life depended on it because we felt like it did.
Okay. Anyone else want to add anything to that last little note before I move to the next little piece? Everybody's good? All right. So I do have a question because with all the mass chaos and just craziness going on, I'm going to go ahead and mute the mics real quick just to make sure we don't get any feedback. What are you all doing for self-care, both mentally and physically? So I'll go ahead
and with everything that's going on right now, I definitely mentally disconnect by not getting on social media at least 3 hours out of the day, 2 to 3 hours out of the day. So that's something that I do mentally to disconnect from a lot that's going on.
Okay. Anyone else want to add anything?
I've been giving myself permission to rest. That's been my mental and physical. So mentally, I don't judge me, but I started reading these weird werewolf fantasy novels. They are so strange, but I get so hooked. I'm like, ooh, who's the alpha now? So that's been my mental checkout time. But physically, I am a fairly avid runner. I try to run 3 times a week, but these last few weeks, I've just been like, okay, I'll just run once a week. And I still wake up early because I usually run at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. So I still wake up at that time, but I let myself just rest. And, the first few days, the first couple weeks, that was depression. But then once I transition past, what, I need this break. And then I came up with, okay, well, what can I do? Because I don't want to just not be physically active at all. So I made it basically like an agreement with myself that once a week was going to be enough. And I was going to use the time I would use running to make sure that I'm taking care of myself and meditating, praying, maybe reading more about who's the alpha now or whatever before I get up and go to work.
So I just have to say something. So there's my mom, Doris Rivera is my mom. She says, so cool. That's right up my alley. So you get a check from my mom about the werewolf things. So yeah. Ladies, anything else? Anyone else want to add what they're doing as far as for their mental or physical well-being?
I think that before school started, before I got all busy, I actually had self-care days. They were every Sunday. And I would do a face mask and a hair mask and whatever else I wanted to do. But since my schedule has gotten more busy, I guess my way of doing self-care is kind of like what they do, but more of whatever is going to feel good, what's going to make me feel good and feel relaxed that I can do right now or something. I guess if I'm starting to feel stressed. So I more just adjust it to the moment, basically just doing things for me. And I'm trying better to put myself first more than I used to. So that's kind of been how I've been doing my self-care personally.
No, that's awesome. Either one of you want to add anything else?
I don't really have much to add because I haven't really been doing anything.
Oh, you got to get that self-care, mentally or physically. You got to take care. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, definitely. What Bree said, over the summer was really, really hard. And then coming back to school, I kind of had no choice but to throw myself into my work and just focus on that. Because I'll admit it, I am addicted to social media. So it's kind of, that's what I do when I don't have anything to do. I just scroll on that, which isn't healthy, and I know that. But I know one big thing that I do is I'm really into music, and so if I'm having an especially hard day or hard week or whatever, or hard 2 weeks or whatever, I go to my comfort music or whatever my favorite album is, and I just listen to that and jam out. And another thing I like to do is I like to drive. Driving calms me down for some reason. I just like being on the road, and so usually I'll drive and just clear my head, listen to music, and then get back to work because I got a lot of stuff to do. But
no,
yeah.
That's right. So I got to ask, what's the album? What's the favorite album?
Oh, I have two off the top of my head. The first one it's called Collide with the Sky by Pierce the Veil. It's they're pop punk group.
I'm sorry, Pierce the Veil. Okay, sorry.
They're a pop punk group with this kind of heavier music, which I just really like to tune out to. And then the other one is called Mono by RM. It is a mixtape from one of the rappers of one of my favorite Korean groups. And it's a really healing and loving album, and it just is really comforting for me. So those two.
Cool. And Dr. Miles, that's what you call hashtag student problems, right? They got to plug in.
Yeah.
So, they're it's about to die. Get the plug. All right. So, and actually, Sherelle, do you want to go ahead and let my mom know? I guess that was your son that walked in the background.
Yes, that was my son Ray, 3 years old, and it's 10 o'clock, and I'm like, why are you not sleeping?
Because mom is busy on a podcast, so he's like, oh yeah, the cat's away, right? So this last question before we get ready to wrap things up. What do you see for Black women as a whole in society over the next 10 years? And I'll go ahead, actually, Sherelle, I'll go ahead and start with you, and then I'll go to Dr. Miles, and then we'll go to the Flagler room.
Listen, when I tell you we are breaking glass ceilings, we are breaking barriers, and I think it's going to continue to grow. Who would have thought that we would be having a female vice president right now? Who would have thought? I don't know if I would have thought of it in my lifetime, or period. So I definitely think that we are going to continue breaking barriers and knocking down those doors that we thought were not going to be reached. They say the sky's the limit, and I definitely feel that, children, even coming from behind us, younger students and children are definitely going to see that they do have opportunities in all different places.
Dr. Miles?
Yeah, so I think it's just so interesting that I tell people sometimes that being underestimated is my superpower. And I feel like that's kind of like how Black women have just like for the last few decades, we've been preparing for this. Like we've been being resilient. We've been fighting battles. We've been behind the scenes, propping other people up, clawing our way to be propped up. And I think what I see for Black women in the future is not like the spectacular thing is that people will see us because we've already been here. We've been doing these things. We've been the force behind the scenes. And I think in the next few years, people, their eyes are just open now and they'll see us. Like when Kamala Harris was in the debate and people kept talking about all the faces she was making, I was like, oh yes, great. Normalize Black women's faces. Like I make those same faces in meetings. My friends make those faces. But when I was making those faces, I was getting at work, I'm getting reviews that say I need to work on my body language or that I'm intimidating. Well, now Kamala Harris does it combined with power and combined with doing her job well. And then it turns into, okay, well, that is kind of like a part of the force that makes Black women special. And so I honestly, I just think that you'll start to see way more Black women, not just on the forefront, but being appreciated while they're on the forefront, which honestly, I don't even know if I'm so used to like fighting. I'm like shocked when people are like, no, I think you're awesome. You should just go ahead and do awesome things. I'm like, wait, I don't have to convince you? Okay.
And now heading over to the young women at Flagler College, do you want to go ahead and what do you see for Black women over the next 10 years?
I would say, well, we just had a discussion about colorism with our chapter. And so over the next 10 years, with us becoming such a strong force within our societies and communities, I also see us being more supportive of one another than we already are, despite our differences, whether that be economical or the color of our skin or the texture of our hair or our mannerisms. And I see us kind of being not only this force to other people, but being this force for one another, and just really connecting with one another, despite the color, for example, the colorism issues that we face within our communities.
Cool. Anyone else want to add anything?
Yeah, I kind of disagree with what everyone is basically saying. I just feel like we're not going anywhere but up from here. It's only gonna get better. It's only gonna get, I just think it's just only gonna get better for us, hopefully at least. It just keeps going, but
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. Like I think there's still a lot of hard work they have to do, and especially for younger generations, like seeing what we've seen and like learning everything that and just becoming aware of stuff. I feel like there's going to become a wave of like a lot of strong Black women that are going to be coming up and just doing the thing. That's really it. Like we're just going to be doing our thing and making stuff happen just like we always have. But I guess more recognition. I guess more in the forefront come the future, which I hope for because that'll be really cool.
Because like if you look at it, like Black women are the trendsetters for 90% of the things that we do.
Everything.
99%. 99.9. Yeah.
So last little thing, is there any final thoughts you want to add, ladies? Anything else you want to just kind of get out there for everybody to listen to and maybe be able to absorb coming from the perspective of Black women?
Oh, wait, go ahead, Dr. Miles.
Yes, Dr. Miles.
Oh, no, I don't want to talk before the students.
Oh, okay, I'll go back to the students. So
I was just going to say, like, be willing to have an open ear to learn and to at least try your best to understand, just participate in conversations and be present and, just do all those things. Just continue to do all those things and just continue to try to learn more and continue to grow as a person. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay, anybody else want to add a last thought?
Joker, basically.
Agreed.
Okay. All right. So, either one of you want to add anything else before I go to Dr. Miles?
I'll just second what Bree said. Just be present, open, and willing to learn and hear from people, hear different perspectives from people that you don't really, I guess, interact with every day.
Yeah.
You don't interact with.
And just be mindful of like the way you talk to people, because I found that's a thing of my white coparts is that they're not mindful of what they say, and then they realize they didn't want to hurt anybody, but they hurt somebody. So having those conversations, and then in turn, like just watching like what you say and how you act.
All right, let's go ahead and transition to Dr. Miles. Your final thought?
Yeah, so I want to say respect black women, trust black women, and get out of the way of black women. Like, let us do our thing. Like, we are, this is not a competition. Like, we are clearly running our own race. You do not have to worry about us trying to like take anything from men or hate men. We're so far beyond that. We are doing the black woman thing, and that's that.
I like that. I like that. And just to let you know, I trust you and I will stay out of your way. Yes. And now, Sherelle, do you have any last words?
Listen, you all have hit it on the head. Just get out of the way. That's it. That's it. Point blank and period.
She didn't just say period. She ended it. Did she say period with a T on it at the end, like as the kids say nowadays, right? So, ladies, I just want to thank you all so much for being on the show tonight. I truly appreciate you taking the time to come and speak with me on this podcast. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And as I wrap things up, I just want to let everybody know that for next week, I'm really excited. Young man, Chef Jordan Walker, he is a young man I met at Livingstone College, the HBCU I was at for a short period of time. He's doing amazing things. And he's not only going to be talking about his experience as a Black chef, but I'm trying to convince him to do a food demo and give us some recipes for Thanksgiving coming up. Many people are going to be spending that time just with themselves, not traveling. So hopefully he can give us just some jewels and tidbits that we can, us mere mortals, when it comes to cooking in the kitchen, can actually do something and really enjoy it. Also, if anybody wants to reach out and connect, please feel free to do so. You can find me on Facebook at Roll the Dice with Dave. My fan page, also my profile is David Rivera Jr. I am on Twitter and on Instagram. Please reach out. And also you can reach me at rollthedicewithdave@gmail.com. Again, ladies, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I truly appreciate it. And everybody that tuned in this evening, thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate that. And we do have one more comment that seems to have come in. It's from, of course, moms, right? Moms are the best. He's like, there you go. So I love you, Mom. And thank you all for tuning in. And ladies, thank you again. I hope you have a great